Hello there folks, and welcome back to another speed paint video. For the first time in a little while, I've got a bit of a Fakemon design for you guys. Recently I've been seeing other artists do this thing where they swap evolution methods for various Pokemon to make new designs, and I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know how popular it is, I have no idea how many people are actually doing it, but I thought the concept was pretty cool. So I decided I would take two stones that were introduced in the same generation and are kind of opposites of each other, the Dawn Stone and the Dusk Stone. And I would take some of their Pokemon that evolve with those stones and swap them to see what kind of Pokemon they might turn into if their roles were changed. So without further ado, let's get into the speed paint. I decided I would start with the Dawnstone design, since there are actually only two Pokemon species that evolve with the Dawnstone, which is really weird. Like, I think I knew that in the back of my head, but it's still really weird to think about. Like, there's an evolution stone that literally only applies to two Pokemon, and that is Kirlia and Snorunt. You can of course get Gallade by using it on a male Kirlia and it will evolve, and I thought this thing was kind of neat. I mean, it's kind of weird that the Dawnstone, both evolutions are gender exclusive as well. It's really quite a weird little evolution stone once you think about it. And I would love to see more Pokemon use it. Anyway, the Dawnstone is interesting because we don't really have a large sample size for what Dawnstone evolution Pokemon are like, right? Like Moonstone Pokemon are very often associated with nighttime and the moon and dreams and things like that. But with the Dawnstone, we really only have two Pokemon designs to go off of, and they don't have a ton of things in common. Frostlass and Gallade are both pretty different Pokemon. One of them's like a very gallant warrior, the other one's like a devious yokai that kidnaps and freezes people to death. They don't really have a ton in common. So it was kind of interesting trying to break down what it is that they have in common and how to turn that thing opposite when they use the Duskstone instead. I ended up deciding to go with a Psychic Ghost type for the alternate Gallade evolution here. I thought I would take a little bit of inspiration from like the Ceruledge and Armarouge designs a little bit, but I wanted it to feel less like it was wearing armor and more like it was a vigilante spirit. I really had fun playing with the colors here. I wanted it to feel dark and ominous, but still feel like it belongs with the Ralts line, so it still has a lot of white used in its character design, just like the other Ralts designs do. And I just wanted to play with its shapes and make it a little bit pointier and more ethereal, so it has a lot of like ghost flames coming off of itself, and I had fun playing with the colors as well for like the way that it's, I don't know, it's kind of incorporeal in some parts in a way that I think was pretty neat and pretty fun to work with. And I just wanted this thing to feel like edgy and weird, but also still pretty cool. I also decided I would darken up its feet a little bit to give it a little bit more differences from the original Gallade design. And overall, I just had a lot of fun with this design. I thought it was a lot of fun to do. It was very fun to like take the Duskstone, because at least the Duskstone's pretty easy to work with. Most Duskstone Pokemon are like ghost types, or they're spooky, or they're kind of devious. So it was very easy to apply that sort of idea to Gallade and kind of make it, you know, a foil Pokemon, you know? Something that instead of being a gallant and noble knight is a little bit of a vigilante, a little bit of a weird, spooky guy that doesn't necessarily play by the rules. So that is where we got Gallethal. That's the name I came up with for this guy. I thought the pun was pretty good. I kept trying to work the word vigilante in there, but it just was not working for me. But eventually I got to Gallethal, and I thought that was a pretty cool name for this Pokemon that kind of feels like a devious, ghostly assassin of sorts, and I thought that was pretty fun. Next up, we have the other Dawnstone evolution switched for a Duskstone, and that would be Snorunt into Frostlass. Now, this was also a very challenging one, because the Duskstone is, of course, the spooky one, right, between the two stones from Gen 4. But the Dawnstone, you wouldn't think that it's spooky, but Frostlass, as it is a kind of spooky Pokemon, right? It literally, like, freezes people into, like, ice sculptures that it keeps for fun in its den in the wild. I think that's pretty sick, pretty cool. And I decided I would kind of do an unexpected ironic direction with this. So while the Dawnstone evolution for Snorunt is kind of a spooky and dangerous Pokemon, I decided that the Duskstone one would be like playful and cute Pokemon instead. It would be kind of a fun way to twist those ideas on their head. And that's where we came up with this design. It's pretty similar to Frostlass in a lot of its shapes. I wanted to make it feel like it is a counterpart, but you know, still kind of like a happy counterpart to Frostlass. Like, Frostlass is a very mysterious and cunning Pokemon, whereas this one's like probably also cunning, but not in a way where it's going to kill you, more in the way that it's going to trick you into getting into its pranks and traps. And that's where I ended up picking up the fairy type for this, because there's something very fairy-like about, like, tricking mortals into devious things just for your own entertainment. That feels like a fairy to me. And fairies also feel like an appropriate, like, nocturnal thing to me as well. That might just be me, but that's the vibe I get from this guy. I decided I would make its head, instead of having just one teardrop sort of shape like the original Frostlass, this one has two to make it feel a little bit more like a jester. And it also has a few more bright colors and other fun stuff to make it feel more like a harlequin or a court jester, and make it feel asymmetrical in a way that the original Frostlass design really isn't. I just had a lot of fun with this one. It's super fun, super cute. I really had fun trying to find ways to incorporate clown-like elements into this design. I feel like it could be like, I don't know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Nights into Dreams a little bit when I was working on it. And while this design definitely gave me a lot of trouble while I was working on it, I'm still pretty happy with how it came out, and I'm also very pleased with the name, Frostlaugh. I feel like this pun is just really funny. I really enjoyed it. Real Toontown heads know that that's how you spell laugh. I just really had a lot of fun with this mischievous, kind of devious clown that will come get you in the middle of the night. I don't know. I just think she's pretty cool. The next designs were swapping Duskstone Pokemon with the Dawnstone, and this was a little bit tricky. Like I said, the Dawnstone doesn't have a lot of examples of Pokemon, so it's hard to say what the epitome of the Dawnstone really is. Ultimately, I decided I would kind of lean in a Frostlassy direction when evolving Murkrow, and I eventually came up with an idea that I ended up calling Haunchcrone. Now, if you aren't already aware, a crone is like a word for an old, haggard woman, right? An old hag, so to speak. And crone is also a word that you often hear associated with, like, the triple goddess of Wicca in her three different forms, like the maiden, the mother, and the crone. So I thought it would be cool to have, like, a magical old lady, witch kind of bird that just is very devious and cool, and the pun was just too good not to use. I think I may have literally peaked with both this design and this name in this video. Like, I think this might genuinely be the strongest in both of those aspects of the whole video, even though I was really happy with the name for Frostlaugh. Haunchcrone is just such a good name, and it still makes me smile looking at it right now. I decided I would try to borrow a couple of, like, the general themes from Haunchcrow in this design, so it looks like it's wearing a big hat. It has, like, a kind of bushy tail. For this design, I wanted it to feel a little bit more like a broom, so it kind of looks like it's flying on a magic broom, even though it's just its tail. I made it look like it has, like, gray, braided hair, because I thought that would be kind of cool for the silhouette, make it feel a bit like an old lady. And, man, I just had a lot of fun with this design. This thing is just so devious. I would totally have one on my team. I think it strikes a good balance between, like, crow, vulture, old lady, and witch in a way that feels, like, simple and concise. I don't know. I don't know how I was cooking so hard on this design. I genuinely think, like, this might be one of my favorite ones I've made for the channel in a while. It's just pretty cool. I love Haunchcrone. I would totally have one on my team. And yeah, I just think this would be so cool as a Dawnstone evolution for Murkrow. Last and most certainly not least would be the other Gen 4 Pokemon that evolves with the Duskstone, and that would be Mischievous. Mischievous evolves into Mismagius in Gen 4, and it is a counterpart to Murkrow. They're both, like, Diamond and Pearl exclusives, so I thought it would be fitting to include both of them in this video, even though there are other Duskstone Pokemon I could have possibly evolved. I ended up having a lot of difficulty trying to come up with a concept here. I wanted to take something that had a similar, like, transforming a hat concept, because I thought that would be, one, it would be fun to go with Haunchcrone, who also has, like, a transformed hat compared to the Mafia Fedora. She has a witch hat. And also because so much of Mismagius's, like, character design is the fact that it looks like it's wearing a hat. So it took me a while to come up with a design that I was happy with, but eventually I came up with the idea of a siren. So instead of something that is deviously tricking you in the middle of the night, this one is trying to lure you to your death in broad daylight on the open sea. And I thought that would be kind of a fun and unexpected take here. The Dawnstone does have that beautiful blue color, and you could apply that to the ocean as well. I made its hat kind of look like a very big shell, kind of like some like Cambrian era like cephalopods and stuff like that. Like you might have seen the very famous pictures of like the so-called squizzard that used to exist back in the day, these like squids and octopuses with really huge shells on their head. So I thought I would take that as the concept, and I thought it would be a fun silhouette as well. It has like a big pearl up on the top to kind of reference like Mischievous and Mismagius being Pearl exclusives back in Gen 4, and I wanted this thing to feel like a devious, like, sister, sort of, to Mismagius. Like, again, like, Mismagius is a mysterious, kind of mischievous sort of Pokemon that appears at night. This one is one that appears during the day. So I wanted to have nice bright colors, even though it does still have that dark eyeliner to give it a more menacing or mischievous look. It also just draws more attention to its face, which is definitely the focal point of the design. Overall, even though this one gave me a lot of trouble in the initial stages of trying to conceptualize it, trying to figure out which shapes to do with it, eventually I came up with a design that I'm actually really happy with. So this is Miss Siren, a ghost and water Pokemon, and it is a devious siren that will definitely lure you to your death on the rock if you pay attention to its song too much while riding your boats. And with that, those are all the designs I've got for you guys today, so thank you all so much for watching. Let me know which one of these designs was your favorite and which one you would add to your Pokemon team if they were real Pokemon. Honestly, like I said, Honchkone's probably my favorite of the bunch, but I really do like how all of them came out. I think they're all such fun little Pokemon, and I kinda wish they were real. Thank you, by the way, to my Ko-fi members for helping to make this video possible. My Ko-fi members help support my art by making my income more consistent and help me live my dream of becoming a full-time artist. If you would like to join them, you can go check out my Ko-fi page in the description, where you can join as a member for as little as just $1 a month. You can also just follow for free on there for blog updates as to what creative projects I'm working on lately. If you're interested in commissions, consider checking out my VGen page. Over there I have a whole bunch of different services open for things like character design, character art, merch design, stream asset design, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. If there's something on there that you want, but I don't have it as a service, feel free to send a custom request too. I'm willing to try just about anything, and I'm willing to work on anything if it's a cool project. So consider reaching out. And with that, that's all that I've got for you guys today. So thank you all so much again for watching. I hope to see you next week with another fun art video. And in the meantime, why don't you guys go out there and make some art?